Hey everyone, how are you? I know it's late in the day again, but I will try to make this actionable. If this presentation doesn't get you promoted, shame on me, but really, no refunds are offered here. Let me just tell you a little bit about me. I am a principal product manager at a company called LaunchDarkly. We do feature flags as a service. Feature flags are a way for you, as partnership people, to make sure that the right partners are getting access to the right features in your product or in your platform at the right time. So if you have a silver partnership versus a gold partnership versus a platinum partnership versus a custom partnership, you don't need to get engineering involved to slice and dice the terms of that partnership. You can use feature flags to handle all of that. I promise that's it. On Empower, it's a conference for B2B product and leaders. It's in Q4. I come to that, and then Braid is a side project I do. It's a way to keep my skills fresh. Let me tell you a little bit about how I think about product management and what you should think about good product managers. Product managers are motivated by solving problems. They are not motivated by a particular solution. What that means is they fall in love with a problem, with a use case, with a statement. I don't know what's going on. They fall in love with whatever, and they don't really care about the solution. And so this has implications for you as a partnership leader. Oftentimes the right solution isn't technical. We're always looking for ways of delivering value with low effort. If there's zero engineering effort and we can deliver value, we're going to optimize for that or try to do that first. And so oftentimes that'll be some of the pushback that you get. And product managers are force multipliers. We're not dictators. We cannot force the engineering team to drop everything and do something. As much as we wish we could, we cannot. The engineering team gets to decide what they want to. The person closest to the code has the most power. PMs oftentimes don't even have commit rights. We can't write code. We can't do anything. We're just there to help the product go through the life cycle. We're there to empower the engineers, empower the designers, empower the data people on the product delivery side, and again, empower the sales people, empower the marketing people, empower the go-to-market function with sales enablement, with training, with customer visits, and all the rest of it. We really don't have any power. We're like the opposite of dictators, even though you, as partnership people, here know from us more than anything else. So let's think about how product managers see partnership people. So if you think about problems, not solutions, you come to us with what? You need an integration with what? It comes out of left field. If the right solution isn't technical, you coming to us I need to do this with this API? Are you kidding me? That doesn't look right. I know that's going to be impossible. And we're not dictators. Again, if you come to us and be like, I signed this awesome partnership with this thing. They came to us. They have an event in 3 weeks. I need you to drop everything and do it. Boy, howdy, you guys are smart. That doesn't go over well. So let's talk about the problem. The problem that we want to solve today is how to get product management to support your efforts on the partnership side. And so what I'm going to do today is give you 3 concrete things of tactics of how to get product to buy in to what you are doing. This is essentially helping you hack the product function in your organization to get things done. Exciting? Sounds good? Want to stop hearing no all the time? Good. All right, so don't surprise product. Scary clowns, they're surprising. Don't do that. That's bad. They're scary. They're bad. We don't want that. Help us not be surprised. What you need to do is guide project. You need to make product feel calm when they see you come into their office. All right? So not scary, but like this. Bring a path. Bring calm. Bring good things to us. Okay? There are a number of tactics that you can do to make sure that you don't surprise product. One of the suggestions that I have heard and I like is to actually have a public roadmap for the partnerships that you're working. So the same way that the sales team has a backlog, or they have a funnel, or they have the opportunities they're currently working, you should have that for your partnership stuff and make that public to the organization, or make it public just to the product function. So they have a sense of, hey, these are the things that the partnership organization is looking at, is considering. They may come to you with suggestions of that makes a ton of sense. That aligns with what open gaps we have in our roadmap, or that makes no sense whatsoever because that conflicts with what we're doing, or hey, we don't think about things in that way. So that way you're not wasting your own time, and again, product has more information about what's going on. Product managers, by nature, are information junkies. They love to see everything. They want to have as much information as possible. Product managers love to get 200-page documents and read through it on flights and at nighttime. It's a weird, terrible sort of personality tick, but that is part of who they are, because they're always gathering information, synthesizing it, and going back out to other parts of the organization. Working with engineering, working with design, working with marketing, working with sales. They have to be good at this. And so you can play into that by being proactive about giving them as much information as you can up front. Make sense? All right. Make it easy for the product organization. When I talk about making things easy, obviously time frame in advance is helpful. Obviously, going through and having the right partners is helpful. But go a level deeper. Being able to think like a product manager is really, really helpful here. So for example, if you have a partnership that you're really excited about, make sure that that partner has good APIs. Do you guys have a sense of like what a good API is? Yes? No? All right. So there are a bunch of different things with like what defines a good API. I gave a talk on this in September. If you follow up with me, I'll be happy to send you over those slides. But there's a number of characteristics of a good API. A good API has to be performant, meaning it's fast. It has to be available, meaning it doesn't go down. And it has to be predictable. When I'm talking about predictable, that means 100% of the time, if I as a developer send something to the API, I will 100% of the time get the exact same response back. They have to be exactly in that way, because computers talk to each other and we have to have expectations. If I can go and tell the engineers, hey, this is a good API, it's a RESTful API using JSON format and it's not a SOAP-based API using an XML format, or like it's GraphQL if you have a leading edge engineering organization. Those are the sorts of things that get them excited and then are leading indicators of quality of the API. So good documentation is helpful. RESTful APIs with JSON formats are helpful. SDKs are very helpful, especially those SDKs, software development kits, are in the languages in the stack that your engineers are already doing. Right? If this company is a legacy company, they only have Java APIs, and your stack is in Python or Go or Ruby or something else, that's going to be a much harder, much more difficult integration for them to do, even if it's only, it's 2 APIs. You have to be thoughtful and bring that information forward to the product organization, because what they're going to do, if they agree with you, is fight your fight with the engineering organization to put your priorities on that roadmap. And so being able to come to them with, hey, here's example code. Hey, here are the other people we're looking who have done this before. Hey, here are documentation. Hey, here are the APIs. Hey, here are the SDKs. That sort of stuff is very, very helpful to make it easy for product to go and fight your fights for you. The last one that I want to get into, and then I have a bunch of tactical stuff that we can get into, is understanding product motivation. So this is like self-serving, but every PM thinks this way. PMs are arrogant. I'm no exception to that rule. I literally have said to people in the last week, I am the best product manager I have ever worked with. And I believe that. And every PM believes that, because we're wired in a very weird way, because we have to go through that. You can play into that. You can play into product's need to deliver value, to deliver scalable value, to deliver kudos and recognition. If you can bring a partner that has a well-defined partner program, that has good co-marketing, that will do the webinar and do that work for them, so they just show up, look good, look famous, can put that on their LinkedIn. All of that stuff shouldn't matter, but it does. If you can play into the needs of the product managers to get that recognition that oftentimes they feel they don't get that respect from within the organization, it can help nudge you along to go in and get them to fight for the things that you want them to fight for. So in conclusion, and I know we went fast because I anticipate a bunch of questions and I've got a bunch of stuff in my slide notes on tactical stuff, is y'all are partner folks. You know how to sell. You know how to market. You actually know how to do product. And the way this comes out is, look, find alignment between your objectives and the product's objectives. The product managers in your organization have a roadmap in their head, 12 to 18 months, 36 months maybe even if you don't have a public roadmap, even if you don't have that available to customers or to prospects or to partners. Understanding what's on their roadmap and giving them visibility into what's on your roadmap and finding that alignment and finding the open spaces is great. If you can provide something with a partnership that product found to be priority number 4, and they only get to do their top 3 things, they'll be thankful to you. They'll be like, you solved the thing that I wanted to be able to deliver, and I couldn't. That is a wonderful, wonderful place to be. You know how to market. Product oftentimes is OKR'd or incentivized or measured on the success of what the new feature is. And oftentimes, this is not a good metric, but that's for my PM conferences. Oftentimes, they're measured on usage of the thing. So if they ship a new feature and only 6% of people use it, that's a failure. And that looks like they wasted engineering, design, data's time for 3 months, 3 weeks, whatever your sprints are, that could have been somewhere else. You waste people's time a lot. You keep shipping stuff that no one uses. You as a PM get fired. That's just kind of how it goes. So if you can help bring a partnership to the table that requires some engineering effort, and you can help ensure that that partner has an excellent co-marketing program, that that partner is going to do webinars and outreach and make sure that the thing that the organization built gets used by real users or real customers, you make product look good. You help them with their OKRs. Those are the sorts of partnerships that are helpful in helping you gain that credibility, gain those chits, so that way when you have to cash them in, you're in that place. And you know how to do product. Everything about product management is this ruthless prioritization effort of like high value, low effort, high value, low effort, and you stack rank all of that stuff. Now sometimes there are high value, high effort things. Those are the big projects, the 3-month projects, the 6-month projects. Heaven forbid the year-long projects where you're refactoring things or building something totally new. A number of partnerships can be high value and can be low effort. And you as a partnership manager know that best of all. You know which partners are easy to work with and which ones may be more difficult because you know each other in this room. We as product managers have no clue which partners are easy to work with and which ones are more difficult. It's not what we know. You know that. You know how to go and look at documentation, APIs, the SDKs. You can bring that to product and make it easy for them to understand, hey, this one's going to be easy, this one's small. You can do your own t-shirt sizing. Familiar with the concept of t-shirt sizing for like level of effort? You can do that for them. You're going to be more accurate than the product managers will be as you keep doing more and more of these partnerships. Once you can do that and demonstrate that value to product, you'll end up going from no or not right now if they're nice as a product manager to a default position of that sounds interesting. I'd like to explore that more. Hey, can we POC that? Hey, let's think about that. Here's a real interesting one. If you have a product organization and they are always no and they're always ornery, most of your organizations have hack weeks or hackathons. Bring an integration there. Find an engineer at those hackathons or those hack weeks and bring them an integration that can actually be delivered soup to nuts in that 1 week, in that 24 hours, in that overnight, whatever it is. If you're able to do that once, maybe twice, product's going to pay attention to you. They're going to look at you as someone who has something to bring to the table to make them look good, to help them deliver customer value with little to no effort. Because if you can consistently bring things that only take a week, that only take a day, and you've proven that to the product organization, they're going to go to bat for you when they have to go and fight with the engineering leads. So in conclusion, don't surprise product management. You know how to do that. Use your sales stuff. Be transparent. Be open. Give them the information as soon as you can. Have open documents, open funnels. Let them surf in your pool by giving them that information up front. Make sure it's easy, right? Easy stuff is about the integration capabilities. Is it a RESTful API? Is it using standard JSON formats? Is it standard OAuth stuff? Two-legged versus three-legged, OAuth 2 versus OAuth 1. Like all that sort of stuff is in the documentation that the partner should have provided to you. All of that you have to do, you just put it in a little box with a nice little bow on it and give it to the product manager who's fighting those fights. And the last thing is make product famous. Again, yes, we all have alignment. Yes, we're all on the same team. Yes, we all want to do the right things. But PMs are people too. They have egos. They're incentivized, or they're not incentivized. They're motivated by recognition, right? They're not. If they were motivated by money, they'd be in sales. Product managers are motivated by recognition. They're motivated by shipping things, and they're motivated by having people use the thing. If you can make the product manager who fought for your thing famous, then you can get your job done. All right? That is all I have in terms of the slides here. I've got a number of tactics that I'm happy to go through. here on my phone because I don't have speaker notes, sadly. But I'm happy to take your questions, whether they're tactical or whether they're more philosophical.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll start with one question first, and I've fought the good fight with product many times as well. And one organization I worked with really required a business case. What's your feeling and take on a business case or just data to help support the initiative?
It depends. I think more mature organizations will require a business case. Less mature organizations, especially if you're a small startup and the CEO is like the head of product, it's a little bit more difficult, right? Because those people have product vision, I've got a product gene, and all the rest of it. Data always helps. It can't hurt your case, right? What's important is to understand what are the motivations of the business case. You can be like, hey, if I do this integration, I will flood the top of the funnel. Well, are you flooding the top of the funnel with the right people? The right sort of stuff? Is there a match between who our go-to-market is and who our current users are and who you want to bring to the table? Because if there's a mismatch there, right? Like, oh, if we're an SMB thing and you want to do a Salesforce integration, like that may not work as well. Also, Salesforce is really, really hard to integrate with. Apex is painful. Don't go to your product organization with a Salesforce integration. Like seriously, like hire an ISV to do that. At Nihilus, we put our best engineer on a Salesforce integration. It took him over a year. Security review was paid. Like, don't. If you want to do a Salesforce integration, do not do it in-house. Okay. Sorry, that's just like one of, like PTSD, but sometimes it makes sense, right? Like if you're going at it, because you don't, like if you position your product as like the premium product, then you want to bring premium partners, right? Zapier makes a lot of sense if you're going wide, but it may not make a lot of sense if you have, an ABM strategy and have 12 to 18-month sales cycles and all the rest of it. The requirements of those customers are very, very different. So yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where like the plan is useless, but the planning is helpful. Maybe write up the business case. The worst case, you don't need it. But coming with ammunition, coming with data, PMs always are thirsty and should be, if they're any good, excited to have that package for them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yep.
So I'm going to take your advice and say this was a great presentation.
Excellent. Yeah.
Any tips for working with a product manager to release APIs, which tend to come with a lot of supports and maybe even requiring someone to maintain those APIs and documentation afterwards?
Yeah, releasing new APIs is wonderful and incredibly difficult. Okay, so if you've decided to make a new API or a new set of APIs, the number of things that have to go into that is actually larger than pretty much any other product thing that I'm aware of, right? So you have to design the API. It actually takes design work. Like, are you using nouns, verbs correctly? What's the payload look like? What are the things? Have you paginated it correctly? How's that API going to be surfaced in the SDKs? So the SDK team has to get involved. And then you have to like QA test, and then you have to smoke test it, and then all the rest of it. The sales enablement around that happens if you're a large organization. On the other side, you have to have like documentation on your docs.dot or whatever, your README. You'll have to have the SDKs package for things like that. You'll have to have the landing page, like all of the rest of it. So APIs take more lead time than other things, right? Just think about it that way. Like because of all that accoutrement that goes around it, I promised I wasn't going to sell. LaunchDarkly, feature flags are actually a really good way of doing this because what you can do is you can turn them on in production without a staging server, and then only turn them on to like selected partners using a flag. Be like, these 3 people under this flag have access, and then you can do the beta release and all the rest of it. APIs are terrible for staging servers. You really only want to test them in production, so you have a sense of like what load looks like, what the shape looks like, if there are integrations. All the interactions happen there. So from my perspective, using feature flags, LDs are good, obviously a good way of doing it. And you can do those releases at the right time for all those things. So you can put the docs, maybe it's a public URL, but it's like unlisted in the table of contents. Going through those stages are really, really helpful. And working in partnership with the product manager to do those things. And again, the more that you can do is helpful. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
In your product development phase, at what stage do you actually look at what integrations you want with the product? And is it possible for us to get ahead of the curve by getting to you at that stage?
So an integration is a solution to a known problem, right? And so it actually happens later in the funnel than like the problem, like which problems are the most important for our organization to solve right now, right? Integrations are one of many tactics or initiatives to solve a known problem. And so it kind of has to happen like, if you have a good product organization, they will be transparent with you about the problems that they are thinking about, even before they're talking about the problems they've chosen to solve. Part of this is just developing a personal relationship with the product people at your organization to get that information, because oftentimes that's not in a document, it's in people's heads. It's in a lunchtime conversation or a coffee conversation or a beer, wine, cocktail conversation. You always want to plant the seed as early as possible. You always want to advocate for the things that you want. Again, don't surprise product. So what you're doing is you're bringing a solution to the table. You're saying this solution seems to match this problem. You can frame it as, hey, is that a real problem? Are these the sorts of problems that we're excited and interested in solving over the next 12 to 18 months? What can I do? What other things can I do? Because, again, it's cultivating and building that relationship and continuing to make deposits so you can make withdrawals afterwards. So, again, never too much information, never too early, just to get that idea in their head. Because you never know what piece of information flips a product manager from this to this. Right? There's a cliche that product managers have very strong opinions, but they're loosely held. They're not as loosely held as they like to think they are, but the strong opinions are definitely as strong as they think they are. But you never know when they'll change their mind. And so getting there early and giving them information, especially as you have it, is helpful. Some people think you should filter that information. I do not. I think good PMs have a good idea of how to filter for themselves. And you'd rather give them more information rather than less, and then let them make that mistake? It's a good question.
We have time for one more question. Sachin, this is great.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.